we are facing a historical event and a providential event with true parents coming to this nation. And true parents are going to go to New Zealand. Now we had shocking news. We got to hold Women's Federation for World Peace Conference in Sydney and also in Auckland. So shocking news. So I would say it is a double blessing that we had with Japan. This is why I have called you is because Japan's are coming, so we need to unite together, okay, to receive Japan and not to know Japan's teaching, the word spoken to us. The time in Alaska was so precious. I must time is today. It's good to have 10 days or 5 days. But we don't have so much days, so many days, so much time in days. So I would say let us feel a taste of that, have a taste of it.
거기 던져서 거기 뭐라고 이제 재미가 잘돼 있는 거야.
여기가 1600만 2,000만 정도 됐어요. From now on, when you give Divine Principle lecture, you can't just give a lecture by memorizing. You have to have the textbook, which is Divine Principle book, and have to be very accurate, the line by line. You can't use your own interpretation.
식구에서 세 번만 같이 있는 걸 내일 읽어야지. 세 번만 경만 먹으면 비디오 춤 담아가지고 먹은 좀 담아가지고 시험시 하면서 저 해설에 나오고 이렇게 하면 전부 다 상관.
Even if it takes time, if you have a person whom you are witnessing to, you read the Divine Principle together, maybe 5 pages a day together, and you explain. You add more flash there and more interpretation.
세 번만
You do that 3 times.
그다음에 먹은 거
entire book. Then you can give a videotape, which has kind of a standardized lecture.
저도 크리에이션 좋은 사람 20분 정도 해서라고 이렇게 해놔. 이렇게만 두 번 하면 완전히 서사는
10 minutes of showing and then you explain, continuing doing that.
책봉 해야 돼.
Also, you can refer to the textbook, which is on principle books, while you are watching video. And if you continue doing that, let's say you did it twice, the entire book, then everybody can become a teacher.
그래서
Yeah.
그렇게 하면 누구나 다 강사거든요. 책까지 누구나 다 강사. 거기서 덮어쓰는 거. 일꾼으로 묻히는 거. 세 번만 읽고 이제 비디오 덮을 해서는 세 번만 두 번, 세 번만 보면 그 사람 뭐라도 다 한다. 그다음에 책에 기록하고 해설할 때 책이 기록, 책이. 책 가져가지고 앞으로 이게 책에 약간 그 원하는 말이야. 노트에다 들어보고, 우리가 창명을 읽는 상황을 책도 읽는 기록을 그런 말이야. 어디에 그 대응적 감정적으로 책까지 얼마 쓸 수 있고. 이렇게 하면 내가 질문하려고 어디 가서 질문하는 거 저 책 가지고 어디서 이게 책 가지고 암기를 기억하는 거 있어? 교수 책 가지고 하잖아. 그래. 엄청 공부력도 좋은 거 같아.
Ministry and have them read it. If it's possible, you read the books with them together. Even page by page together or section by section together. And if they have any question, you answer because you already understand the divine principle. And give them all the answers they want. And then when you did maybe 3 rounds of divine principle book like that, then you can show videotape lecture. Yeah. Yeah, even when you watch videotape lecture, they still have to compare with the divine principle book. They may find something different there a little bit, and then they have questions and you answer. There's an explanation that you can add more. Also, they can take their own notes in the book, divine principle book, or you can put your own notes there on the book. And then by doing so, the people will understand. And if they go through like that, entire divine principle 3 times like this, then everybody will understand divine principle and they can even become teachers. Have questions, please jot them down, and we have certain dates, maybe twice a week or 3 times a week. A certain time we meet together and we will discuss those questions, and then they gather together and you meet together and they discuss the questions and you give the answers like that. That's the way you can develop the relationship, and then you'll get busy on session. And then you'll find somebody, you appoint somebody to read the particular section which you are going to discuss with those people, and maybe they can take turns too to read different chapters or sections.
그러니까 그렇게 하면 말면 우리 너 디바이스를 몇번 읽었어? 우리 책이라도 읽게 한다. 그 책까지 자기 시간이 가야지. 그거 안 된다니까. 매번 읽기 때문에 책에 대한 관심이 있고 책을 등산하고 조금 신경을 따르고 이렇게 되기 때문에 책 내용을 너는 마음대로 될수 하는 게 안 된다고. 그러니까 문제가 가면서 들어올 때 신명사들 다 잃어버려가지고 말이야. 떨어지면서 말이야.
Even as a missionary, Father is wondering how many times you have read the Divine Principle book. You don't read the Divine Principle every day. That's the major reason that our members, including the leaders, as years pass, people lose their spirituality. They lose their vitality of doing spiritual work because they neglect reading the Divine Principle. But as you keep reading 5 times, 10 times, 100 times like that, and you will find your own way of ministering to people. there is the way there.
그 책 가져가지고 전부 다한 사람이 30분이면 돈 얼마지? 너나 줘가지고 전부 다 얼마나 쓰면 알고 싶은 거 오라고
So father is
해가지고
suggesting
수요일 날
30 books per person. You take 30 books and distribute those books to your friends and neighbors and deal with them and try how it goes.
그럼 그 30명 가운데서 일부 감동되게 됐는 그 사람들이 30명이 앞서 너희들이 33명이 되라고 얼마나 그 박수다.
If those people read Divine Principle book and they get really inspired and they want to learn more, then you become the teacher of all those 30 people.
30분 논하줄 거 같아. 이 first time that the center man so the book had some books which with all the food together in one place with the reading again check page on someone that place question with the all the members one time book they're shocking their mind. They contain revolution in their mind. That kind of strong armor in Divine Principle power. You understand? How can the other side extension? This is what's important. 그러니까 이 시대로 only we can good result about the way. You understand?
Yes.
그렇기 때문에 한 사람이 참 여기서 책 가져가지고 30분 놀아. 책 30분 얼마나? 이래가지고 전부 다 하나 줘.
So remember, the first step you should teach, because a month has 30 days. So even if you do one book a day to give away, it takes a month. So you should do
One person.
One person.
One person. This is you. That is a monster. All books. After that we talking there. After we reading, how did you feel it? You want to clear that behind the meaning, get an impress, all that. We are going to read, not check it, page. 이 시가 이렇게 해서 감동받으면 그 사람은 또 책을 이렇게 하는 거.
Once they get really inspired and join, then have them do the same thing like you do, and they become another teacher. The teachers and they have their own territory.
자, 그러면 이제 내가 오시아닉 센터 이런 때 미션을 무슨 말이야? 책을 읽어가지고 2시간, 3시간 읽는 거 말이지. 그래서 절반으로 어떻게 해야 돼? 그 이제 요거 말하면 그러면 책 가운데 요것만 말하면 창작으로 2시간 읽는 말이야. 1시간에 말할 수 있다. 4분주로 말할 수 있다. 딱 그거 딱 해야 돼. 그래서 책 가지고 내주는 거야. 한 책을 청정을 30분에 할 수 있는 거야. 하나 걸리 30분에 할 수 있는 거야. 그렇게 거쳐는 거야.
As you keep on doing so, as you keep reading and you almost memorize Divine Principle book like that, then suppose when you have a missionaries conference like this with Reverend Kim all together, let's say if you have about 12 or 15 missionaries together, then you can come up with some kind of more condensed, summarized version of principle of creation, or chapter 2 or chapter 3 or whatever. Instead of taking 2-3 hours to read the entire chapter, you may come up with more summarized, condensed version of 1 hour for creation, maybe 30 minutes for chapter 2, fall of man, and things like that. But not from someplace else, but you have to condense the contents of the Divine Principle itself.
그렇게 하려면 어디
That's the way we should train our leaders.
어디 가든 누구 만나가지고 딱 만나가지고 얘기했어.
That way, wherever you go, you may go, whomever you may meet,
5분 동안, 5분 동안 사람만
talk with them.
누구든 만나면 5분 동안 얘기할 수 있어요. 5분 동안에 어떻게 원리 말씀 5분 동안 타라고 얘기해요.
And if you have only 5 minutes to speak to somebody, then you will figure it out. What kind of contents you can pour out in that 5 minutes to that person to win.
사람만 5분이 언제 누구 얘기할 수 있는 거거든.
Because 5 minutes, having 5 minutes from somebody is not that difficult.
그래 버스 타나 어디 가나 전부
So
다
even on the bus,
세계의 가정 문제 큰데 초상 문제 큰데 이런 참 좋은 책이 소개해
for example, like
야 놀랐다.
youth problem, drug problem, family problem, all over the world is referenced. So, whatever subject you get on, you can take 5 minutes from somebody and just give them the direction and then gradually recommend one principle.
Now that home problem, the children's problem, how can they solve the most nation worldwide problem? How can they solve? I worry about that kind of point. Someday we'll read that book. It's like contest, amazing. I introduced you that book. Read it. That is that in the life. Isn't it? 그래 전부 다 하는 거야. 그래서 너들 여기 300명에서 300명의 하루에 수백 명을 할 수 있는 거야. 수백 명이 거기에 관다.
If everybody does that, let's say you have 300 members here, if 300 members are doing all the same thing, that means we are contacting thousands and thousands of people.
going out and working out.
Thousands and thousands of people every day.
5 minutes meeting every people that saying that. You know that how about your family is good, your brother is good, your children is good. They said that we have family trouble everywhere. So that you introduce. I do you know that it's like contest that I read that kind of book, that amazing contest. I introduced to you with that book. So you see how it is. 300 members. All day long, we think about 10 times. 3,000 members. Don't they? 3,000 members is moving out and like the way, one way with the saw and the community. Same situation according all over the state. Immediately store up. Store up. You think about that. You made that kind of phenomena. How much making that result amazing. You understand? You have taken that kind of step. 그래서 이제 차가 너도 지금 너 원래 얼마나 읽었어? 몇 번 읽었어?
So how many times have you read Divine Principle book?
Yeah. 10 times. During 70 years, you can read 10 times. Bad. You're taking that, it's like action activity. How many times then? Yeah, 10 times more. Is that true? 70 years, 107 times more. How much you can understand deep context of divine principle? All members became expert. Is that true? Huh? Clear. No, we don't worry about no member. No member is working good. Boom. So the books there. They want books there. It's real. 다 좋아지겠지.
Just
Everybody come in, please.
Yeah, let's,
We father, mother,
let's welcome true parents.
Happy birthday to parents. Happy welcome to parents. Happy welcome to parents. Happy welcome to parents.
Louder and faster.
Happy welcome to parents. Happy welcome to parents. Happy welcome to parents. Happy welcome to parents.
놀아 먹게 해줘요. 네.
알아 이거 알아 이거. 거주 고령이 거리가 나눠준다.
今までやってきたことを思ってですね、貢献したいと思っております。
여기 우리 와노프 같은 거 내가 있으면 좋겠다고 그랬지?
예, 예.
여기 있다는 배는 어떤 배예요? 여기 배한테 있다고 그랬죠?
예, 제가 직접 확인을 안 했습니다. 안 해서.
무슨 배요?
출연하는 우리 교회에 있는데 그냥 저렴한 거지.
보트, 저만 보트.
저렴한 보트예요.
그자, 우리 그자.
Please come in.
글쎄와 거의 한국 나오네.
Everybody come in quickly.
또 나오긴 해.
Okay, everybody, we about to prepare father, us and mother.
와서 다 하나.
자, 그만해. 그래.
경배. 바로 경배. 바로
다 어디 하는 거야?
예, 큰아들이고 작은아들.
어디 그래서
얘가 큰아들.
그러는 거 잘.
큰아들이 잘생겼고
그래.
얘 쌍둥이고요.
어? 어디 쌍둥이야?
예, 쌍둥이. 이렇게 쌍둥이. 여기 형이고 동생이고 쌍둥이. 큰아들이. 딸이 또.
이렇게 그거 다.
아, 이거 큰 딸이고요. 예, 작은 딸.
그냥 갈래 여기 안 되면
아, 지
가왔네.
못 왔습니다.
어디 보니?
좀 한 1, 2분간 금방 한 1분이면
그래 그래 가.
예, 그래 사실 넓은 데 샀어요.
그래 가자.
먼저 가라 그래.
Okay. Yeah, please go to the teacher center.
너는 몇 살이야? 12살이에요. 엄마 닮았구나, 그 아이들이.
몇 살? 방만 어디 봤나?
자, 빨리 가라 그래. 둘이 있을래요?
이거 다
집 한번
받으시라고?
보실래?
어?
집 한번 보실래?
네, 일로.
저는 코를 걸지 말고 액자를 걸었으면 좋겠다. 너무
방입니다.
부엌이고요. 예, 뒷마당입니다.
처음에 집을 그러서
그래 이거 해가지고 주방에 넣어. 들고 나가시면 돼. 미리 모이게 해가지고 노래하고 앉아있게 뭐야 말도 잘하는구만.
Okay, please lie down. Okay. Let us bow to true parents. 경배. 바로 경배. 바로 Okay, please be seated.
Let's see, Australia. Down. And New Zealand. Any other country? Speak up. France. Africa.
Malaysia.
All right.
Italy.
England.
Yes, that's the microphone. That's the microphone, just in the pocket.
Who studying Korean right now, raise your hand, please. Presently, if you are studying Korean, language Korean, why? The rest of you, why don't you study Korean? Korean language is not just one of the languages, but it's your mother tongue. Should be.
인간이 바라에 그 여러 나라가 있다. 사탄적, 나쁜 것이고, 그다음에 하나 못되게 하기 위해서 파괴공작해가 수많은 분들이 되는 것을 하나로 만들어.
Because of all of man, mankind has many different languages. It was Satan's strategy to divide people. Therefore, he used different languages to separate and divide people.
여러분들 어느 족속이 대한민국 여러 족속을 가지고 여러 족속을 다 싸우고.
You are eyewitnessing every day in Oceania. As you know, there are many different, hundreds of different tribes, and they are using different languages, and they are fighting every day.
사탄 하나의 뜻이 언제로 와가지고 하나는 인간을 파괴시켜 영영 하나는
Because Satan knew that sometime in the future, God will unite everybody and all the languages. So therefore, Satan has been trying his best to separate them by having them keep their own languages.
그 나라에서 하나의 문화를
But when the time comes, all the languages have to be unified, and we have to come up with one culture, one unified culture too.
본래 살아가서는 안 가르쳤는데 아담 가르쳐.
Without for man, the human history would have started with one culture, so-called Adam culture.
살아가면서 사람이 어떻게 해야 되는가 다 또 가정이 어떤데 나라가 어떤데 다 공식적으로 다 믿기가 이렇게 됐대. 그것이 땅에서 사는 것이 그냥 연결을 할 수 있는 모든 힘으로 전부 다 이렇게 안 돼. 알고 때문에 다살수 있게 살아야 됩니다.
Because without fall of man, man was supposed to know what kind of life they were supposed to have. What kind of family life, what kind of love relationship, all those things. And then they would also know that after this life, physical life, their life would continue in the spirit world. Therefore, there wouldn't have been any confusion there. So because of fall of man, the consequences is different now. Also, they would have known the formula of modeling.
The formula system connecting the spiritual law. Same
Since once you know everything, in detail or by heart, you can't separate yourself from the major body.
늘 마음대로 전부 다 모양에 닿고 전부 다 마음대로 닿지만 가는 길은 선을 향하는 길은 다 같다.
For example, everybody would have different types of mind and heart, different shapes and different characteristics, yet the direction everybody is heading for would be the same, towards the goodness. Again, the direction towards the goodness is the same and one. Doesn't matter whether you are from Oceania or you're black, white. By the same token, everybody would know where our culture of this physical world would have to head for.
하나의 문화를 만드는 하나의 랭귀지, 여러 가지 랭귀지 시대에 만든다.
For that reason, in order to make one unified culture, if we have many different languages, it's a big hurdle.
수백 가지 그 얼마나 하나만으로 다 또 사정이 통하고 생활이 통하다.
Let's just think about practical even example. Even in order to translate our divine principle, because of a variety of the different languages, we have to go through lots of pain, many different languages. Also, it's not easy to introduce the the unique culture to everybody because of the difference in culture and language.
정보를 하는 데서 무슨 힘을 가져가지고 생기게 무슨 산업이라든가 무슨 도업이라든가 무슨 학술적인 것 같은 종교의 희망을
Therefore, in order to accomplish that task, coming up with one centralized culture and language, nothing will work except religious power. Industrial power, money power, knowledge power, nothing works. But only way is religious power.
또왜 코리안 랭귀지를 배워야 되나? 그 선생님 말씀한 모든 한 200권에 해당하는 말씀집을 이것을 번역을 읽는 큰 소리를 원문을 읽는
One of the major reasons that Unification Church members must master Korean is because, as you know, Father has spoken all these 40, 50 years, and his speech book is up to volume now 200, over 200 volumes. So in order to understand the genuine meaning of Father's talk, Father's teaching, you must be able to understand Korean. Well, the translated version will be available, but that's not as good as, not as genuine as Korean version.
그리고 앞으로 역시 오래 앉아가지고 학교에서 문제를 주시고 우리 전부 다 문제를 원어를 알아가지고 책을 읽고 원어를 통해서 해동하면 각자 세계나 교회 책임자들에 대해서 상당히 수치가 되는 여차피 하나만 돼.
Also, in the near future, there will be a trend developing that scholars and those who study about Father and his life, they would have to go back to the original talk he gave. In other words, Korean version of his teaching. Otherwise, as a scholar who is an expert in Father's teaching and things like that, they wouldn't have kind of highly respected quality as an expert. Therefore, they will have to go back to original Korean version. That means they have to understand Korean.
90년대까지 우리 통역을 안 쓴다고 다 선포했는데 이게 뭐 처리고.
Well, originally, Father announced that from year 1990 on, he wouldn't use his translator. But when he came here, he suddenly realized that this is, in a way, kind of a countryside. People do not know what's going on in the world.
이제 한국이 조그만 나라인데 앞으로 더 이렇게 급속적으로 세계 정상을 통과하게 된다고. 이제는 그러면 38년 동안에 세계 2,000년, 수천 년 된 종단을 할 수만 발전해라.
Well, the country Korea may be small, but the movement of Unification Church is expanding rapidly. For example, in 38 years, Unification Church movement became one of the major religious movements in the world.
반대하고 뭐 총적에 반대하면 어차피 턱이고 다 그렇다.
Well, the Protestants and the Catholics, those established churches, may be opposing us still, but our foundation is strong enough that nobody can stop us from doing our work.
일반 불교라든가 이코노미 확실치 않고 끝이 확실치 않아. 그리고 과정도 확실치 않아. 그래서 그래서부터 과정에서 모든 이론으로 되기 때문에 어떤 변화도 못 봐.
When you look at the difference, major difference between Unification movement and the other religions, for example, like Confucianism and the Buddhism, any other religion, when you look at them seriously, their origin is not clear. Also, their future destination is not clear. However, Unification Church's origin is clear, our future is really crystal clear. Therefore, the
so that unification combine all of religion, no problem. 그러니까 이제부터 2년 전, 3년 전만 봐도 말이야 동산세계가 점점 이제 완전히 공산세계가 됐다. 이게 언제 어떻게 될지 모른다.
So time has been changing really rapidly recently. Even 3 years ago, those communist countries were all our enemies. But look at now, what's happening. They are our allies now. So wait a few more years, how much it will be changed. You can't imagine now.
어디까지 공간으로 34개월, 36개월 전에 20억 인구가 왔는데 그 써놓은 지금 전체 사상적인 공백을 우리 원리로 채워놨기 때문에 이것이 돌아가면 전 세계 34개국으로 20억이 돌아간다.
As you know, there are still about 34 nations who believe in communism. And in terms of the size of the population, it's about 2 billion people worldwide level. And but they're kind of the master countries, former Soviet Union, gave up their communist ideology. Therefore, those communist countries have kind of ideological vacuum. So once they accept our ideology, Godism, change their minds, and the countries around is just it's a matter of time.
중고등 학생은 완전히 지금 교과서까지 우리 원래 지금 지금 8개월 더 먹었던 사람이 지금 대단한 거야.
For example, in former Soviet Union, the former Soviet Union is now divided in 88 different school districts. Okay. Now, out of those 88 districts, about 1,600 representatives who are the commissioner or director of the educational system there came to Father's workshop for a week-long workshop, and they studied divine principle, and they were totally inspired now that they want to adopt Father's divine principle view of education. And then the country, we are talking about high school and middle school educators, and then the entire country will adopt unification doctrine view education, then the country can be turned around. And once the Soviet Union gets turned around, then the rest of the world, the countries which still adopt and believe in communism, they will follow the Soviet Russia's footsteps. Entire Oceania here, the population is about 30 million, Father understand. Less than 30 million? Well, more than 20 million, let's say 25 million. Well, even if you say 25 million or 30 million, that's still about half size of Korean population. If we are talking about the entire North and South Korea, it's maybe just about 1/3 of that Korean population. Well, when it comes to your origin here in Oceania, usually majority probably came as a kind of people from the Europe or someplace. They were marooned or they were sent away because of their, the criminal records, whatever the political reason. In general, that's the way people understand these Oceanian people originated from. For example, if somebody commits crime here, in order to separate that person, we may send him away to another isolated island. That kind of concept is there. Well, that's acceptable. Well, that was in the past, because in the past, geographical distance meant a lot, but now the time has been changed. That doesn't mean anything. Therefore, if you are really united and work together to digest 20 million people, it's just a piece of cake. Suppose each one of you became just like true Father. Don't you think it's a problem? Because Father alone in America in 21 years, he changed that entire country around. Well, human beings, we are the same, actually 1 to 1, not much difference. What's the difference? Your determination, your conviction. Your determination and actually your action. What kind of act you continue doing it? That's the difference. Therefore, if you have a really good plan to cover entire country or island you belong to, it's possible you can do that in several years.
그걸 할 줄 알아야 너들 앞으로 대한민국가 살지. 그러면 언제가
Only if you can do that, you can make this entire Oceania really prosper. Otherwise, there is no future for you. Who is going to pay attention here? Unless you take an action and start doing it. Which is bigger, the woman or man here in the group?
시끄러운 건 누가 많은가? 여자들 많아, 남자가 많아.
겁나 비슷합니다.
그냥 그냥 보죠.
옆쪽이라.
아니, 저 어떤 사람 하나 없어.
어떻게 왔지? 어떻게 다니까? 자, 오늘 무슨 얘기가 무슨 얘기?
Well, today, what do you want to hear from Father? Sing a song? Father doesn't have much time, so singing a song is for you. You will have the Father speech.
세상에 뭐 세상에 모든 복잡한 문제 무슨 뭐 인종 문제, 문화 문제, 혹은 국가의 문제, 종족 민족 모든 저 일시적들의 문제 모든 전부가 일으키는 것이 뭐냐면 두 사람이 남자랑 사람이 여자다. 두 사람입니다.
There may be many different problems and difficulties in the world. For example, racial problems, and your tribal problems, national problems, economic problems, and so on. However, when it comes down to the origin, the fundamental point of all the problems is the problem between man and woman, relationship between man and woman.
Man and woman, the man and woman comes to another struggle.
Well then, when it comes to the problem or relationship between man and woman, who is usually the troublemaker, man or woman?
Man.
Man.
그것뿐 아니에요.
Well, we have to know. That is very important. Who is it? Man and woman? Answer.
woman이 몇 퍼센트나 될까?
Well, you say woman, then what percent of the problem woman is causing? In terms of 100%, 70% or 60%? Compared to man?
99.
Yeah, first time you have to know that percentage. What's the percentage? The percentage.
Somebody says 99%. Woman is causing the trouble. What about the divorce rate here? What percentage of the married couple getting divorced usually here? 30%? 35%?
50.
No.
35.
이혼하는 그 모든 남자 여자인데 말이야. 여자가 그 동기를 많이 일으켜, 남자가 많이 일으켜.
Well, let's talk about the divorce then. Usually when they get into divorce, who caused the problem first? Man and wife or husband in your country in general?
Husband.
Husband.
Ambitions set away from the home and family.
I don't think that's accurate. It's pretty hard to say.
But in general, you can guess, or you can have some idea. Usually, man caused the divorce, or no, wife.
Statistically,
Stat-
65% of divorces in Australia are initiated by the woman.
65%
Are initiated.
caused by women.
So they check.
Initiated. But in America, the ratio is about 75% to 80% by women.
여기서 여름에 들어오면 보실 것은 그 남자 저쪽 잘한 탈출하는 탈출이.
Well, there is a common belief nowadays that when man and woman they get in love and they are thinking about marriage, then usually women thinks of a man's wealth, the money. About 90% or 95% when they get divorced, they in a way kind of take the wealth away from the husband when they get divorced.
그런 법이 있으니까 나쁘다.
Well, there is a law about the divorce. The law allows them to do that. It's in a way, Father said, it's exploitation.
공격된 여자들이 이혼하는 거.
Suppose there is no law that wife can take wealth away from husband or share the wealth with the husband. Not many women would dare to initiate divorce. Because in Hollywood, it's a kind of a fad that many women, they make money by keep having divorce. Yeah. They accumulate their wealth that way. In that sense, who is worse, man or woman? Yeah, it's true. You know the answer. Therefore, the conclusion is the problem is women.
남자들은 저나 저 대그래도 이제 무슨 뭐저 사사제 이런 데 갔다 돌아나고 다 여자들은 저부터 그렇지 한 번에 전번에 만나주자 이런 저 연구 모습 저한테 행동할 수 있는 그 약하다는 한 달에 모르고.
The difference is man may be seduced or tricked by some woman while they are doing their work and doing this and that, but they usually get out of that mess and they come back to their family. But in case of women, if you get in serious trouble with somebody else besides your husband, then because of your weakness or your the feeling, emotion, you usually get involved deeper and deeper, ends up with divorce or broken family. Because women usually think of just one direction and just one. Compared to man usually look at 3 different directions, and woman usually looks at just one direction. Therefore, the major key to reduce these social problems is how to tame women, how to control women.
Yeah, what do you think women's side? What do you think women's side? Is good or not? 여자. 가정에 대해서 여자가 건드리면 그 남편도 훌륭한 것이 있고 아이들도 훌륭할 수 있는.
Even when it comes to your family life, if you have a good housewife or mother in your family, then usually the husband from that family is prospering and doing well, and their children are usually good children.
Home can make good husband, can make good children. All home making the head of foundation. Is that true? Mother, home mother, home wife, mother problem, parent problem, and couple's problem. Most important trouble in the home, 2 kinds. Couples, husband and wife, and children, parents. Is that true? Those 2 problems, how can solve this kind of true problem? Is solving our family 이것으로 sim, not far. Not at not, home, not home, wide, mother. This is why standing stable foundation. Husband cannot move on anything. Children too. I don't know. I think that
So we must understand the problem with our family, mother and wife, can be the same, is very important.
너 동물 세계 그 새끼들 네가 새끼 적은 새끼를 보러 가는 그런 동물 봤어?
Have we ever seen any animal which abandon their infant babies, whether it doesn't matter bird or big animal? Have we ever seen it?
사람.
What about human being?
휴먼들이 뭐저 애니멀들이 전부 다 중심이 되었는데 본인이랑 번못해가지고 동물들은 그런 일 하는데 사람들은 이걸 나라고 죽이라고 힘들어요.
Actually, human beings should be the model of entire living creatures here in this world. However, the human beings, sometimes when they have infant baby, if they don't want it, they just abandon it and just run away. We have seen it, right?
죽이다.
And sometimes even kill the baby.
그게 왜 그럴까?
So why do you think it happens?
근원을 모르고 장난이 모르고.
Because they don't know, they don't understand the origin of our life and the future.
사람이 영원히 산다는 거.
They don't understand the eternal life.
그 영원히 산다는 그런 밤에 있으면 그 영원히 사는데 그러니 얼마나 저세에 가가지고 지장되나 거기가 피해가 얼마나 막중하들 아는데 그런 행동을 할 수 없는.
Because once one understands the eternal life, he or she would see what kind of consequences they will have to face if they do that kind of neglected work. I mean, the abandoning or killing the life. What kind of consequences they will face in the spirit world. So they can't do that.
여기 죽지 않은 사람 손으로.
Well, those who have confidence that you wouldn't die, raise your hand, please. What? Oh, we are talking about physical life. You mean you won't see the end of your physical life?
누구나 죽는 거예요.
There is no exception when it comes to the end of your physical life. Everybody dies. Everybody passes away from this world, right?
사는 것은 전쟁은 전부 다 죽는.
Every single living creature will meet the end. The end will come.
그런데 사람만이 정결이 무엇을 이런 배경 중에서 영생하겠다 오래 살았다.
Except human being. The human being tries to, and they believe in eternal life through having faith in different religions and this and that. But other creatures, no, they don't have any concept of it. Do you have that too? Well, you may believe in the eternal life, but then have you seen anything, what happened in your future or eternal life?
No. 하나님 믿는 하나님 영생하는 것 아버지라면 그 아버지가 영생하면 나도 영생하죠. 그 아버지인 줄 알아.
Well, we believe in God, and we know that the God is eternal, and once Father is our Father, we are children. If the God is eternal, we may be eternal too. But do you know whether God exists or not?
Yes.
하나님을 알아?
How do you know?
I know God exists more than I know that the world is round. personal experience through study, through prayer and relationship.
그래서 사람들이 저 하나님을 모르기 때문에 이 아담이 싸우는 거죠.
Well, the world out there, people out there do not know God's existence. That's why all the chaos and the problems and difficulties take place.
너 둘이 있는데 이도 하나님 자라고 너도 하나님 자라는데 둘이 거짓말 하셨어.
Let's take an example. Two of you live together, and both of you know that the God clearly exists. Then can you fight once you know that?
또 하나님이 너희 장래가 모든 것을 주관한다고 할 때 그분이 얼마나 무서워. 이 정부보다 무섭고 어떤 나라의 독재 정치보다도 무서워.
Also, once you clearly understand by your heart that God is the one who controls and determines your life and your future and everything eternally, then can you do anything stupid? The God should be more fearful being than your government regulations or constitution whatsoever. Don't you agree?
Yes.
그래. 너 선생님 보고 싶었지?
Have you missed Father?
그래서 그 한국 하나님은
When Father usually stays in Korea, what about God? Well, where is God? Everywhere means God is always with you, right next to you, right beside you.
그걸 진짜 알아서 선생님 필요 없잖아.
If you truly feel that and understand the God's existence with you, actually you don't have to miss Father. You don't need Father.
그래서 살아있기 때문에 저 미디에이터가 필요하니까 선생님부터 필요하죠.
But because of fall of man, we all fallen people need mediator between God and human being. That's why you need true Father. You miss true Father.
지금까지 하나님 몰랐던 뭐 선생님 통해가지고 하나님 알고 하나님을 깨쳐가는 거야.
Because we didn't even know about God until we met true Father. But through true Father's teaching, we come to understand God. We come to know God more.
하나님 보여?
But do you see God? God is visible.
너희들 마음이 보여?
Do you see your mind?
사랑이 제일 중요한 사랑이 보여?
Well, the most important thing in our life is love. Then have you seen love?
응? Everybody likes that, but you cannot see that. 있는 줄은 알지만 보지 못해.
We all know that love exists, but we can't see.
저하고 살고 있지만 잡을 수 없어.
We love to have love, and we live with love, in love, but we can't grasp it. We can't.
또 너들 마음이 있나?
We all have our mind. We do, don't we?
마음 없다는 거. 그 미친 사람도 더 한 거라.
If anybody claims that he doesn't have or she doesn't have mind, he's more than crazy.
제일 귀한 것이 아파. 제일 귀한 것이 아파.
Therefore, generally speaking, the most precious thing of being in your life is not visible.
또 왜?
Why?
내만 둘이 닮지 못하지.
Well, suppose
비교하고 그거 하고 싶다.
suppose your mind is visible. I mean, you can see somebody else's mind and your mind. Then you will always compare with somebody else's and think if somebody else has better mind than yours, you will always want to have that one.
그 투자를 어떻게 만들겠어?
Think about it. We are not talking about just the relationship between two people, but we are talking about 5 billion people. How can we stop the conflict or friction between all those 5 billion people if we are going after better minds to take over.
그 남자가 미남자 놈새 그 마음이 아름답고 체력은 미력은 체력은 그 남자가 50억이고 저 20억이고 참 덥더라고요. 그 얘기.
Suppose there are handsome men, sometimes not really handsome, ugly or whatever, and same thing, beautiful woman, and if the handsome man, the most handsome man has the most beautiful, most precious mind, then entire 2 billion women will go after him. Vice versa. How can we control that traffic?
뭐 여기 여신들의 교통인데 여기 참 이렇게 왔다 갔다 한다고 야 이 교통수리 바쁜데 얼마나 문제가 있을까?
Well, go out to the downtown Sydney, and then the traffic control police usually stands in the crossroads. Sometimes tries to, guide and control the traffic. He's always busy, even dealing with that many vehicles, but controlling 2 billion women going after one handsome man. No way. Suppose God is smart. When God knows that kind of trouble would occur, do you think God would create your mind visible? No way.
No. That's clear. No. God understands. Famous time God understands everything so that mind cannot see it. It will be what is most important, most valuable. Is that true?
Yes.
You know it. 그걸 하나님 말씀을 알았다고.
Well, by this morning now, you know something just like God knew, even before the creation. Now you found out why God created our minds invisible, right?
또 내 마음 그런데 하나님 우주를 창조한 그 주인은 절대 영원한 왕주의 주인인데 그 주인보다는 서로 가지고 그 자그마한 생각을 써라. 그럼 하나님 버리는 말이야. 얼마나 큰지라.
Well, by the same token, when we are talking about just minds, comparing the minds, we can imagine that. Because we want to go after even more precious, better quality of mind. But think about it. God, as being the center of the universe and the creator and the most precious being in the universe, and King of Kings, whatever Almighty, omnipotent, whatever the name you can put on God. If that God is visible, think about the traffic control, then who is going to do that?
Absolutely no way. Big problem. Causing a problem. How can solve it? Even the God cannot find out. The God is invisible is the most valuable. Is that true?
Yes.
하나님 아버지 잘했다.
Therefore, it's good for everybody that God is invisible. Don't you agree?
야, 거기는 사랑이 뭐였던 어떻게 한다?
What about love? Suppose you can see the love of somebody.
제일 이런 사랑을 누구 찾기로 한다면 사랑한 부모가 그 사랑을 제일 좋다고 생각했다면 아들 딸이 사랑한다는 잘안 믿는
Well, our mind will go after the best quality of love. For example, if there is one family, the parents seek the best quality of love. They know the love they have is the best, but then they wouldn't give it to their children. What do you think about it?
너는 부쩍이 남편의 행복이 더 좋아? 내가 너들의 행복이 더 좋아?
Well, when it comes to the relationship between wife and husband, who do you think, what do you want? You want to be happier than your husband, or you want your husband to be happier than you yourself?
그게 저기 그 얘기지.
You answer that way because you are moody.
전부가 자기가 해결하는 걸 바라죠.
But everybody else out in the world, they want themselves to be happier than anybody else.
그 해피한 것의 집이 해피의 본향이 이 해피 자체가 여기 그냥 본향이고 그런 세계 천국 본향이.
But when we talk about happiness, the original birthplace of happiness is not within yourselves, among yourselves, but in the kingdom of heaven.
love.
Same principle applies to love. Love originates up there, not here.
그러면 그 둘이 해피해야 그 러브가 러브라는 둘이 해피해야 같이 해피해야.
But the difference between happiness and love is happiness you can get from up there, but love exists when two people have a reciprocal relationship, a give and take relationship. Then it takes place there. Yourself alone, no way.
그렇지만 이 카풀 단체는 말이야. 저보다 딴 데서 러브가 보였더니 그 카풀 저잘 사는데 우리 못 사는 가서 내가 사고 싶게 나도.
So now let's imagine that this couple and the other two couples, there are two couples here, and this couple, they think they have certain quality of love, life here, and when they watch somebody else's couple there, they certainly see the quality of love there is much greater and more precious. Then don't you think they will want to go and just take you over, get that kind of love from them?
그렇다고 테이크오버하는 어떻게 러브가 테이크오버하려면 아담은 저 고향에 가가지고 승리를 받아야 돼.
But in reality, you can't do that because in order to take over or take away the love from better love from somebody else, you can't do that directly. You have to go and reach up there. In other words, you have to travel a long way and work hard and create better than that quality of love.
저 근본에서 볼 때 이 사람보다 투카풀보다 보이지 않는 하나님을 사랑하고 보이지 않는 양심이 불러야만 이 러브 따라.
In other words, the original birthplace of love looks at you, and only when you love God more, you have a stronger faith, you have better conscience, and then you live your life much better than the other couple, then you deserve better quality of love than the other couple. Do you understand?
First time, more than love that God has. Next time, the love that mine has as mine too. That's important. Those two are only the more love. That is love. Can 하나님과 양심, 하나님을 사랑하고 양심을 사랑할 수 있는 사람들에 대한 러브를 만들어.
Therefore, we must become the people who love God and who love our conscience. Otherwise, you don't have anything to do with quality of love.
알겠어 무슨 말인지?
Do you follow?
둘을 따라서 내 러브다.
So love always accompanies two people, not just one.
양심적인 사람, 보다 양심적인 사람은 러브가 따라가는 거야. 보다 하나님을 사랑하는 사람은 러브가.
Therefore, love prefers to stick with more, have better conscience, or is a person who love God more.
그래, 모세에 따른 칸스 내가 마음 중심 사람 공부를 하나님을 아래는 사랑이 살을 져가지고.
There is a trinity there, centering around your mind. Mind is in the middle point, and vertically up is your God, loving your God. Down way, 밑으로 뭐라고 그랬어? Love. So God, your mind, your conscience, and then love is connected. It's like a trinity.
양심적인 사람은 러브가 따라가려고 하나님을 좋아하는 사람은 러브가 따라가려고 양심적인 사람은 러브가 좋아.
Therefore, man of good conscience always entails love, and a man of faith always has love around. But otherwise, love doesn't have anything to do with them.
자, 그래서 인간에서 이 세 가지가 보이지 않는 가장 보이지 않는 세 가지가 이 나와의 직접적 관계를 갖고 있다는 걸 누구도 몰랐다.
But until now, nobody in human history clearly understood and knew that These three factors, your mind, conscience, and God and love. These three factors are the most important essence of your life. Nobody ever knew this until Father came.
이 아줌마 양심을 갖다 하나님 참 좋다. 응? 그리고 세상에 모든 양심 세상에 모든 좋아한다. 이랬습니다. 그리고 너무 좋아.
When Father looks at this sister, and he says that when God evaluates her conscience, God says, "Oh, you have good conscience," and everybody else in the world would say the same thing. That should be our model being, you know, the life we should have.
그 왜?
The why?
너무는 embrace power.
Then the love will follow. Why? Because love power is embracing power.
너 사랑하는 사람이 크게 알아보지 안 가보지?
When you are in love with somebody, you always have tendency to embrace each other, right?
이렇게 한다고 해.
You want to embrace in larger scale or just with your finger like this? If it's possible, you want to embrace your lover with the entire world.
그래가지고 요만큼 작게.
And to begin with, really, the entire universe, and you try to embrace and squeeze to like a little tiny needle.
들었다 하는 말이야. 이걸 들었다 하면 이게 높아진다. 하나를 따위 날라게.
Because if you can embrace the huge, wide being tightly, then it becomes long to reach God.
That is, I am a proud one. That's the truth. Centering of proud, this is the most safety. Any kind of thing will come. 그래서 이야 하나가 땅을 접붙어가지고 너무 시원 내가 가운데가 아니고
So then, when you embrace, we have a desire to embrace, hug our loving person, because you want to be in the center. By hugging that person, you get connected to God and the world, and you want to be the center by doing so.
천지가
Heaven and earth, you are the center there.
하나님의 왕국이 그 지상에 왕권이 달려.
So kingship, the kingdom of heaven and the kingdom of earth here, both get connected by doing so. You're embracing somebody really hard.
그렇게 사랑하는 것은 그 나라가 그 모든 왕들이 알아줘야 된다.
If you can have that kind of, you can practice that kind of love, pure love like that, then entire universe, including God, heaven and earth, will all welcome.
그래서 사랑해. 그래서
That's why love is good.
남자 여자 사랑을 어떻게 하는가? 남자가 남자에서 사랑을 할 수 있나? 여자가 여자에 사랑을 할 수 있나?
How do we find love usually? Man tries to find love among man. A woman tries to find love, your love partner usually among women.
Absolutely. 완네.
Love is one-way street.
그래서 왜 여자가 필요하고 남자가 필요해서 나오는 왜 남자가 필요하고 여자가 필요하냐?
Now you can conclude why we need man and woman. Can you?
Why?
What's the reason?
Love.
I want to find out love. Is that true?
Yeah.
That the formula answer. Any kind of guy cannot change that answer. Absolutely. 그렇기 때문에 남자는 절대 싫어할 때 절대적 사랑, 또 남자는 여자를 절대 싫어할 때 절대적 사랑하기를.
So therefore the conclusion is only when women respect man absolutely, then you can find absolute love from him. Vice versa, when man respects or considers woman absolutely as an absolute being, then you can find absolute love.
너를 위해서 남자에 대해서 absolute 생각하는 여자 소리.
But among the sisters here, those who consider your husband or man as an absolute being or respect absolutely, raise your hand to show yourself to Father.
뭐라고 그래?
Father said, you are sure?
그러면 남자 뭐라고 남자.
But what about the man? Those who have confidence that you absolutely love your wife and consider your wife as absolute being even. Raise your hand.
You're a liar.
That is the problem.
저 여자가서 내 손을 잘라고 그러고 전부 다 잘라버리는데 너 눈을 빼가지고 뺏기라. 그래?
Well, when Father says absolute, that means, well, for the sake of my husband, even if I lose my arm gets cut, I lose my eyeball, I will still go for him. That kind of conviction is yours.
thousand.
Even if I lose my entire body, physical body.
Absolute는 only one.
When you say absolute, you are talking about just one choice, no alternative.
내가 없어서 너만이 돼.
Even if I don't exist, only you.
그 생활 여자들은 있어 없잖아.
You sure? When you raise your hand, you are talking about that kind of standard?
Yes.
You say yes only because Father teaches you.
여자를 얼마나 절대시하고 남자를 얼마나 절대시해야 되는 문제가 이게 큰 문제야. 모든 남자의 문제 여기서 했다는 것이
Major key point, the key problem to solve the problem between the man and woman, the entire worldwide problem is how much absolutely man respects and consider woman as an absolute being, vice versa. That's the problem.
true? 응? 어디 나와 이건 어디 찍까? 여기 올 때까지 이제 그렇게 생각하지만 이제부터 그렇게 생각하던 사람이
Until this morning, until you met Father, you haven't thought that seriously, but since you are taught by Father this morning, now from now on, you will consider your husband to that extent, and vice versa. The man will do that. Raise your hand, please. That's why we need education. Again, we need our teacher and our leader to learn those.
거울 보게 되면 제일 먼저 보여, 눈이 먼저 보여, 코가 먼저 보여, 입이 먼저 보여, 저기 얼굴이 먼저 보여, 어디 저런데 네 가지 가운데 무엇이 먼저 보여?
When you stand in front of mirror, what do you see first? Among your eyes, nose, and ears, and your mouth.
Eyes.
아이는 쑥 들어가고 있고
Well, you say eyes, but your eyes are, in a way, deeper, and your nose are more protruded, sticking out. You still see eyes first?
Yes. 여자들은 내 눈이 잘생겼다고 생각합니다. 남자들은 코가 얼마나 잘생겼나.
Women may try to see how beautiful their eyes are first. However, men may try to look at their nose, how, nice looking nose they have. Because women have a habit to put eyeshadow or whatever you call those things around your eyes.
남자는 코가 이렇게.
But when it comes to man should have a long and powerful nose. It's true.
눈은 하나님 소리다. 눈은 하나님.
I represent God. That's why I can see the four directions as you want.
사방에서 뭐 사방서가 피부 사방서가.
Same time, your nose and your ears have four directional senses too.
랜서도 사방서는
Because your nose can smell four directions.
이분 그렇죠. 이분은 전부 다 말을 하고.
But your mouth have different purpose. It represents all the creatures here because your mouth talks and eat, doing those things. Your nose represents the human being, Adam and Eve. God, human being, the rest of the creatures. So the entire universe is on your face. That's why your eyes, your nose, and your mouth should be well balanced in the center. Look at your both eyes. When you look at your eyes, your both eyes are balanced on the same line well, or they are in a way on the crooked line. The same thing, your nose are on the straight line or just slanted. Mouth, same way. So when we talk about balancing them, is we should have a clear vertical line and horizontal line. Suppose you are naked and stand in front of a mirror and you look at your body, and if you see your entire organs well balanced, that means you have good fortune. When you look at your naked body, the most important organs you have to watch is, look at it, your nose line reaches down to your loving love organ. Because that's where your life is connected and originated. When you think about your nose is connected to your lung, which keeps your life going on, right? And through your loving organ, new life emerges. That determines your nation and the human history. So where is the origin of your nation? Your loving organ. Same thing. The origin of your life is there.
Is it true?
Yeah.
And love, origin of your love is there too. And the origin of your history.
Love, life, lineage.
So that's why we must remember love, life, our lineage. The origin of all those three is your loving organ.
그것이 하나의 근원질. 근원질은 무슨 나라의 근원질, 왕궁을 말해요. 3대 왕궁이 자기 것.
When we are talking about origin of your the base, foundational origin of your country is what? If it's your kingdom, you are talking about the palace, right? So we say your reproductive organ or loving organ is the three major palace of three major the facts like love, life, lineage.
Love palace, life palace, lineage palace.
Yeah, three palaces of.
That is the origin point. Most important place. The most important place and most highest one control, only control. 그래서 가장 귀한 것이지만 가장 귀하신 주인이
Well, since your reproductive organ is the most precious organ, that means the most precious being in the entire universe, who is God, only should control that part. Do you understand?
누구를 만들어?
It doesn't belong to you. You shouldn't control on your own.
남자의 것이 남자 것과는 여자의 것이 여자 것.
That's why
거의 다 같이.
man's loving organ doesn't belong to man, Vice versa, woman doesn't belong to woman. We have to exchange the owner.
You understand? The sexual organ is not.
This sounds very simple, yet nobody knew until now.
하나님 정치해가 exchanging ownership을 결정하기 때문에 마음대로 할 수 있는.
God is the King of knowledge, Almighty God, omnipotent. That's why God put the owners in different bodies, exchange this way.
그렇기 때문에 주인이 아내가 되고 결혼 뭐냐면 주인을 결정하는데 주인 것은 아내의 것은 아내의 것의 주인은 남편의 주인 것은 여자입니다.
That's why through marriage, you find the owner of your most precious organ. For example, in other words, you find your husband who is the owner of your reproductive organ. Vice versa, you now find they think that's theirs and they abuse it, they manipulate it. That's the problem.
이서 남녀 관계 혼란은 그 전부 다 도적으로 남의 것을 갖다가 자기 것을 자기 같이 쓰는 그 도적으로.
Therefore, the problem out there, the man and woman problem out there who are causing that kind of problem are all robbers and thieves because they are using somebody else's for some other purposes, not for the original purpose.
그 도적이 그렇잖아.
Don't you agree? The robbers and thieves are doing that, stealing somebody's property.
지금까지 선생님 말한 그대로 해도 세상 문제 남자들 다.
If the entire humanity follows what Father is teaching right now, there will be no problem in the world. All the problems will be solved.
그리고 한 가지는 우리 세상에 세상 살다가 남기고 와야 돼. 무엇을 남겨야 돼? 돈도 아니고 새롭도 아니고 지식도 아니고.
We also must think that by the time we pass away from this world, we must leave something behind us. What? Knowledge? Money? Wealth? Your authority? Power? What is it then?
뭐야? 뭘 남기는 거야?
Answer, Father. What do you have to leave behind?
Tradition of true love.
Tradition of love.
children. 무슨 children?
You say children, but what kind of children?
What kind of children? Huh? True children. What's the meaning of that? I don't know.
God's
true law, children. What's the meaning?
Children that love God.
First law connecting their children in their dwelling. Understand? First law connecting place, dwelling through law. Everyone wants that remaining on the earth, that first law, fruit. Understand? Not complicated law. First law. Do you understand?
Yes.
이거 물어볼 때, 너는 first law 카프리야, second law 카프리야, complicated law 카프리야.
Well, when Father asks you, husband and wife, if your couple is the devoted, the couple who share your first love each other, or Father says complicated love each other, or second love or third love, or abused love, whatever. How confident are you? You can say that I share my first love with my husband, vice versa. How many have confidence to say yes? That's the problem. Your first love,
하나님이 원하는
pure love,
첫사랑을 중심 삼는 저들은 옥토야.
first love, which God even recognized, is the foundation for the true love.
자, 퍼스트 러브를 잊어버린 사람 없지?
Anybody who says here, I lost first love? Anybody who lost first love?
퍼스트보다는 잊어버린 사람.
Oh,
첫사랑을
I'm sorry,
기억에 잊어버린
I
사람.
misunderstood. Anybody who forgot the first feeling of love you realized, I mean, you felt first love towards somebody. You always remember that.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
첫사랑은 영원히 잊어버려.
Your first love can be never forgotten. You always remember.
그 왜?
Why?
그 영원한 영원한 것이.
Because first love is eternal love, everlasting love.
내가 그러면 너들 지금 별의별 걸어서 축복받다는 거 어떻게 되냐? 그걸 잊어버려. 포스트로브를 포겟. 그래.
저 사람은 잊어버린다는 거예요.
아니 축복받고 나지 과거에 그런 뭐 첫사랑 다 잊어버리면 그 마음 가져가지고 축복받고도 그 사람 생각하면 그걸 잊어버릴 수 있는 노력.
However, once you get blessed, become blessed couple, you should drop all the memory or feeling about the love relationship or feeling of love you had prior to the blessing.
저 기도 생활에 그것이 그 사람을 안만 생각해서 생각이 나지 않고 그 인상을 생각해서 생각이 나지 않는 이 과정을 거쳐야 돼요.
Even if you try to remember the person who you first loved or had a feeling of love towards, through having prayer life and your life of faith and hard work for God, you shouldn't be able to remember that person. That kind of life of faith should be continued in your daily life.
항상 옛날에 영화 장면 하나 본 것같이 잊어버려.
Even in your dream, you shouldn't be able to remember. Just like you saw a movie, thousands of movies, 10, 20 years ago, sometime I just saw a movie. That kind of memory, even more faith than that kind of memory should be around.
축복받은 사람끼리 첫사랑과 같은 강한 사랑을 느낄 수 있는 노력을 하자. 그렇게 노력해. 그래서 전에 그걸.
Then how you can do that? You should have even stronger love relationship with your husband and wife, between husband and wife as a blessed couple, than the feeling or love feeling you had towards a person for the first time. Otherwise, you will be accused or punished in the spirit world.
자, 아담 헤아를 지어가지고 하나님이 첫사랑하려고 했나? 직접한 사랑.
When God created Adam and Eve, you think God wanted to enjoy first love with Adam and Eve, or second or third level love?
First love, absolutely first love. Absolute being, absolute being, his husband is absolute being, woman is absolute being. Both absolute being. They connect to law, it's absolute law. Making that foundation, that kind of place automatically, God can come down. Absolute God's come down, connect. God can connect. God dwelling through law dwelling. Everything either root there. Condition place. You know what I mean? 문제가 심해.
The problem is serious.
그래서 뭐 이런 프로타입 뭐 이런 거야. 포뮬라.
We must understand the formula course,
paradigm.
the paradigm. You know what paradigm means. It's like the best example.
하나님 마음에 그런 마음이든 하나님 그것이 절대적이다. 그 마음에 딱 들어가죠.
If God has that kind of mind, the intention there, our intention, our mind must fit there in the center. In other words, it has to be exactly the same.
그래서 살아가지는 우리 몸뚱이 마음 닮았기 때문에 이게 당연히 하나님이
Without fall, because our body resembles our mind, naturally, mind and body will fit together without any exception.
살아가지는 자연이 사랑을 준 자연이 하나님이 타락되기 때문에 이게 플러스 몸뚱이가 또 다른 플러스 자기라는 각성을 시작했다.
And without fall, the centering on love, body and mind will have absolute unity. But because of fall, the body tries to become another subject, has another self, fighting against the mind. That's why we have problems.
아마 우리가 마인드 스탠딩 represent plus position. After falling, made of the plus, those plus that reaction against the 마음과는 so that your mind and body fighting all the life. How can soul have to make you unified? This is all life have to make you correcting it. That's life also. You're not making it unified. You cannot get it either. No problem. 그러들 마음하고 싸우지.
What about you? Do you feel your mind and body are fighting?
이게 문제이기 때문에 전부 다 해결 같은 사람, 막스 같은 사람 말이야. 이게 투쟁이다. 사람 양심과 마음이 싸우는 걸 볼 때 인간이 근본이라 생각하죠. 투쟁이 이것이 근본이 나오죠.
That's why even the philosopher like Karl Marx, he realized the mind and body are fighting, so therefore he thought that the origin is fight. That's why even in the society, the basic principle must be the fight, not the harmony, not the coexistence, but fight, and another going up to another level. Dialogue.
타락을 몰라.
Because he didn't understand the fall of man, the concept, the fall.
하나님만 듣는 싸우는 그런 사람들 손에 그렇게 됐던 사실은 하나님이 없다는 증거적으로 타락을 몰랐어.
He didn't understand fall. That means he didn't understand God created the original human being. Without fall, they would have been totally unified. But because of the fall, human being ended up that way. He didn't understand that.
아까 말했던 세계 복잡 문제는 남자 여자 문제인데 남자 여자 문제는 사랑을 미스유스하기 때문에 이 문제인데 이거 어떻게 시작하냐는 문제를 판단합니다.
Again, the worldwide problem, the biggest and the most essential problem is the problem between man and woman, taking place every day. And how we can solve it? Usually that problem takes around the love relationship.
잘못 생각해요.
Because the love, when we say love relationship, that means misuse of love.
그렇기 때문에 여러분들 자체가 그 사랑은 절대적인 걸 원하는 건데 그 절대적인 거는 사랑의 간섭이고 그 남자에게 절대적인 남자라고 생각하지 못했던 거 차이야. 간단한 거예요.
Love wants absoluteness. However, when we practice our love life, we didn't reach that absoluteness. That's the problem there.
그게 뭐냐면 남자, 여자는 남자인데 얼마나 사랑을 원하는데 대하는 남자는 절대적으로 대해야 되는 문제입니다.
Love wants absolute relationship. However, your husband and your wife, when you relate to each other, there is no absoluteness there. There is a big, huge gap there.
그래서 첫사랑이기 때문에 그 남자 여자가 절대적인 개념을 가져가죠. 대하야 참사랑을 가질 수 있지. 그 개념이 안 되면 영원히 참사랑을 만듭니다.
Without having that absolute feeling, when you relate to each other between husband and wife, in terms of love, you will never experience true love.
여기 상사병이라
Do you know the love sickness? When you love somebody in your mind and you can't express, the person doesn't accept your love, you get sick. You get thin and sick.
상사병 난 사람 이상이에요.
Your relationship between husband and wife, that kind of love relationship, must be even more severe, more serious than that kind of love sickness.
상사병 대할 수 없는 것도 이거 대할 수 있어야 돼.
Well, when we talk about that kind of love sick, usually takes place because your partner doesn't accept you. But in this case, now you can relate to your husband, vice versa. So actually, there is a way that you can develop that relationship.
남자
Go beyond that.
여자는 남자 어디 가서 따라가다가 어디 가서 따라가서 따라가고 남자들은 그럼 왜 문제지?
For example, wherever your husband goes, you want to follow, vice versa. Always like move together, think together, eat together, sleep together, do everything together. Why problem exists?
아담이 하나님 말이야 자기 남편에는 자기가 듣던 하나님에는 볼 수가 없어. 그래서
In the eyes of Adam and Eve couldn't see anybody else but God and their partner and their children. Was there anybody else they could see? That's the way we should think when we deal with husbands and wives.
에리카이가 어때요? 이 세상은 이 남자들만 그 비교하는 거지.
But right now in the world out there are so many Adams, so many Eves. Therefore, we naturally start comparing each other. But this comparison is sometimes a big problem.
So many even from Satan. Only one absolute one is partners. Absolute partners. One. That is the husband and wife. Two, only two. One minute. Mind that focused every time on husband, on wife, on children. Now skip that out. Then focus all that mean whole. You understand? How about your country? There I like her, I like him, How complicated. This it's like situation made up. I think. Only one way. Do you understand? Husband and wife, only one way. Surrounding cause is below 6. Hit idol couples. True foundation. Anyway. You warn them, you got extension word. Now the wider extension, people here no problem. You know, only making partnership. Understand? Absolutely one is not true. You will take that kind of way.